Here we go.
Hey, here we are.
There, Kellen. A little replay, like we were getting 5 minutes more lead time.
It's all good. It's all good. Hey, everybody.
Video for a living or anything like that.
Yeah, right. And now it's been quiet the whole day, and now Max is barking. But he just wanted to say, hey, everyone. Thank you for being here. Welcome to the Right Spotlight. I'm Kellen Ann.
I'm Brian Monahan.
And we're here to introduce you to some of the most interesting authors that we know.
Can you believe we're on episode 2 and we're not even 2 weeks into the idea, right?
I know, right? It'll be 2 weeks old on Monday, right?
Kellen's like, I got this idea, Brian. I want to start a podcast. And do you want to be my co-host? And do you want to start next week or the following week?
And can you do everything?
Since you're an AV guy, can you go ahead and set up the stream and make intro videos and all of that stuff? But yeah, we're having a blast. And
I know it's a blast. Even though I've been sick this week, it's been really I haven't been quite as active as I wanted to be, but definitely feeling better.
And we're not going to tell anybody you were out last night. I mean, you were definitely sick. You're feeling under the what now?
Come on, we got to have some secrets.
Yeah,
so, how was your week?
I had a great week. I was out in Washington, D.C. I was a stone's throw away from our guest, but he was traveling, so we didn't get to catch up. But I think it was good timing that we're having Geoff here on the show, and I've known Geoff for quite a long time, and I think we're gonna have a great show today with him. He's fun man. He's a deep thinker. I think a lot of people think of comedians and as being just all about the fun of life, right. But I think they kind of have a side to them that is just about they're digging into life in a way that other people are not there. So I think we're gonna have some good combo with them. How about your week? I know you say you were not feeling well.
I wasn't feeling well. I've just been working and resting a lot. I got a new client, People First Logistics. Sydney Tarver, he's an amazing guy. He's going to be on our show eventually. He's in the process of writing his book, so I'm definitely going to introduce him to you for obvious reasons. But back to our guest, a lot of people don't realize that comedians are normally geniuses. They're like highly intellectual, and they think it's so easy to have comedic timing and having knowledge. You have to have knowledge to make jokes and make fun of things. You know what I mean? So that's why I'm so excited about having him here today.
I mean, that's actually how I met Geoff. He was doing a conference. I think it is actually at a similar conference to the one I was at this week in DC for event planners. And he was teaching a course on how to have more wit in your presentations. Mm-hmm. It's been a better part of 10 years. And I don't know that I probably need to go back through the class. So, but maybe
I think I can take it. I mean, my life is comedy of errors, but it's good to be very specific and strategic with your humor.
I have to be honest, I've read a couple of Geoff's books, but as I was digging up on Amazon, he is, I think he's got 4 different standard books, and he's got 3 other ones that are like tour guide things. So I want to find out more about that, but he's got a rich profile over on Amazon, and I'm looking forward to hearing what his path's been. And let's not keep him in the penalty box.
Let's bring him in because
let's go ahead and put, so Geoff Woliner, founder of Winning Wit. He's taught education. He helps people write, those roast speeches, the bride and groom speeches, bring that and do it in an elegant, high-end way. He's also, I call him the onion of LinkedIn. I don't know if he's okay with that or not, but he's a satirist as well. And I love his stuff. And, every day, or just nearly every day, he posts something to LinkedIn that's just kind of trolling us all. And I love it. And I just love his approach to life. So let's go ahead and bring him on. Welcome, Geoff. It's great
Geoff.
to have you here.
What's up, guys? And Brian, true story, man. I'm just trolling you.
All right.
It's not LinkedIn. It's just you, man. That's it.
I got a private feed. There's not even anybody else getting that.
Just setting the record straight on this right now. And all the credentials you were discussing back there, the guy sounds impressive. I don't know who the hell you're talking about. It's certainly not me, but I'd recommend maybe getting him as a guest on the show.
Well, no, I mean, I think
right.
with AI and everything, I mean, we can just, bring you in any way we want to. Mm-hmm. And, that script has already been written for today. So You
And
know,
we didn't even write
You'll
it.
have a little bit more hair, so that'll be exciting.
well, I mean, I think that's part of the AI function is that, you know, by the end of the show, you will have a full head of hair. I mean, that, you know, we are.
Because you get some of mine, because I have enough for all three of us.
You say AI is the future. I want AI to be 20 years in the past as far as this is concerned. So
There you go. I love it.
it's a Holy Roman Empire of mains.
So you're talking about credentials. I was asking you before the show. I was like, "What's a CPCM?" By the way, Geoff. I mean, are you going to share that, or I mean, is that?
Oh, if I can, man, that's the great secret. Well, I mean, okay, real talk here. We're live, right? We have
We're
an
live.
audience.
Yeah, we are live.
All right.
Only here on this show. It's going to be revealed.
Okay.
Right.
It stands for whatever you want it to stand for. It literally means nothing. It is a perpetual troll of the credential obsessed world that we live in. And anybody who would ever say, like, I think you're impressive because of your CPCM is just straight up outing themselves. And I love it. I am just so amused by it.
See what I said about being intelligent?
Well, you can see at least I am a pretty transparent person. I didn't lead with like, and he's a CPCM. I'm like, what the hell's a CPCM, Geoff?
I'm barely an ANN.
Now, I am a certified professional coach. So, I mean, I do have some acronyms. I mean, I appreciate certified professional coach, moron, maybe. I don't know. I mean, Maestro. Oh, you're better with words than me.
Now we're cooking, baby. We got it.
So we're here to talk about books. Kellen and I have a book. We only have one each, you know, we're just kind of like, oh, I put your book too far away, Kellen. It's on the other side.
I got us covered.
Oh, you got it. Great.
There it is.
But Geoff has got 4, I believe 7 total. If you go to Amazon, is that correct?
It's actually 8 now, if you could believe
8.
that. It's, yeah, it's crazy. One of them depends on who you ask.
All right. So which one do you want to talk about? I'll have to be honest. I'm only about halfway through Path of Perfectia. This is your most recent one.
Mm-hmm.
I was reading a little bit on the plane today on the way back, and you know, there's some interesting characters in it. And I was just wondering, you know, do they have anything to do with anybody real? You know, tell us about this book a little bit.
So they don't actually. And
okay,
this is where
you're allowed to tell.
This is where I gotta brace the two of you and the audience, because this is where the woo-woo crazy starts coming in.
All right.
This is the good stuff now. So crazy. Then you are my people. We're gonna rock this today. About a year and a half ago, I had this awakening, if you will. And I was driving through the Mississippi Delta, because if you're going to have an awakening, you might as well do it with some good barbecue.
I agree.
Going over the Mississippi River. And then all of a sudden I feel like in the way people describe near-death experiences, I felt like a near life experience. So I don't know who was like, you know, like the song Jesus Take the Wheel. I think Jesus actually took the wheel because I wasn't there anymore. I don't know what was going on, but I suddenly had this kind of revelation, and this word came to me called Perfectia. Now, people use a lot of different words for it. Some use the word heaven, some use God, some use source, some use Detroit. Depends on who you ask. It's the same principle. It's like the perfect place. It's the perfect, you know. So the idea was write a book that basically describes what I was experiencing. And then a story started coming together for me, which was called The Path to Perfectia. And it's about how do we, while we're having this human experience here, how do we walk each other home? As Ram Dass said, how do we show up for each other during the most difficult times of our lives? How do we show that kind of divine spark, that luminosity when life is at its most difficult? And then how do we get to the other side while ferrying each other there? And then a whole story came together. And this one's truly my baby. Of all of them, this is the one.
Yeah, you know, I've known you for a long time, and, you know, I've seen you through, you know, some career, you know, like, you were very focused on the meeting industry when I first met you. I don't feel like you've been really quite as involved on that side of things. Is that correct? You're kind of taking a little bit different path.
It's fair to say.
Fair to say. So, you know, not being in the same city with you, we don't get to talk about it a lot. So, you know, this book really did for me, like, hey, this is a little bit different path for Geoff. Something is going on. So I'm glad I actually got to hear it here in this forum, because I definitely noticed there was a change in you. So I think it's great. You know, the first book I read of yours was, I'm gonna go ahead and bring up the graphic on it because that's what I do. I loaded them in here today and we're gonna use them. Okay.
He's a pro.
That's right.
So we're gonna go ahead and put that up here on the screen once I find it.
Like,
I just sit here and look pretty.
This guy. This is the guy. This is the guy.
All right, let's see if I can find it. Actually, I don't know. It's not the one I'm looking for. Is not even here.
Is it delisted? Do I gotta take this up with Amazon?
I don't know what they did. Well, let's just bring up this one then. Let's bring this one up because it is. Let's see if I can bring this up. You know what?
I can see it peeking through.
I know,
yeah, I know. I think I know.
2020, isn't it?
Yeah, I know what I did. I need to look in the right section. I think I put them in the background. Yeah, I failed. Let's see if
there are no failures.
It happens to the best of us. There are no failures.
If I were running this, we wouldn't even have our names up. Okay.
All right, so let's just get rid of that in the background. So let's just talk about that book. So that one was Get Bitter to Get Better. What do you think about that? I mean, what tell me, that was an interesting title for a book. Where did that come from?
Yeah, Get Bitter to Get Better. That was a book that came from a place of the industry book everybody wants to write for the thing that they do as the credibility piece for what they do to get the clients. And so that was what kind of drove that. It's like, you need a book. Like, all right, fine, let's do the book. So I basically became the Howard Hughes of Montreal for a week. I just kind of holed myself up there in a hotel room and became this weird recluse, and it was awesome. And I dug into it. And the essence of Get Bitter to Get Better was, I'd spent all these years coaching folks on how to break through that fear of big moments they have. And the big moment could be, giving a wedding speech. It could be a job interview. It could even be a date. These pivotal moments in life that you win or lose the moment. And so many of us, when we reach the precipice of that moment, we don't break through and deliver because not of anything that's inherent to us, but because of messages we received from the villains of our lives prior to that moment. And the villain could be a narcissistic ex. It could be a domineering mother. It could have been a high school bully. It could have been all these different types of people who planted in our brains, we're not good enough. We can't get it done. And that it never goes away. And when the big moments come up, all you hear is their voice subconsciously, and it drives the bus. So all the advice out there leading up to at least this book that I'd always heard was block them out, forget about them. You're great. You're wonderful. You could do anything. Nah, it's not going to work. Let's do a different approach. Because that voice isn't going anywhere, and because the energy of that is still swirling around, why don't we use the energy? And the idea was leaning into the experience of being bullied and belittled and whatever you want to call it, traumatized by these folks, and taking that swirling energy and molding it in the way you want to use it, and then using that as your jet fuel to propel you into those moments. So the book was actually 7 stories based on 7 real clients that I had who used those different bullies they had and those different villains they had in their lives to propel them into winning those big moments. And so it covered people who won a job interview, who started a business, who nailed a wedding speech, who nailed a comedy roast for a retiring doctor, and so on and so forth.
Now, if I remember correctly, though, you cover a lot of your own personal stories in this book as well, right?
Yeah. Very much so. Yeah.
Yes.
And it started out with that. And I definitely hoed that road. And I was an extreme introvert as a kid.
Yeah. So, how does that feel to reveal yourself through that book and put it on paper and just say, hey, world, why don't you hear about Geoff a little bit, being bullied yourself, things like that.
It's equal parts courage and crazy, I think, depending on who you ask. But at the end of the day, I was really hesitant about it, but I knew I had to do it because, like anything else, unless you're transparent with your own story, you don't establish credibility with the reader. And you look like some guru know-it-all, and God knows I'm neither. So I needed to at least let people know, hey, I'm here to deliver this message from a place of experience. I know what it's like to be you. I've been you. I am you. I get it. I see you. And if I could do it, I promise that you can do it too, because I was the least likely candidate in the world to ever get up on stage and have a mic. If you knew me when I was 16, like that guy, no chance in hell.
Yeah, when I read your book, and just to get that, because I've only known you since you were teaching courses to, a room full, I think there were maybe 50, 100 meeting planners in the room the day I met you. And, my only knowledge of you as a front man per se, so when I pull up this book and I get back, I'm like, what? That I would have never guessed that. And so it definitely helped me. One, like you said, to get to know you better. Like, I think through a book, my relationship with you is better because you shared who you were. And so then, all of a sudden the pandemic hits, and I felt like I built a friendship with you because I knew you better, even though you never told me that story directly. And so I think that's
absolutely.
So I always, look up to you for how brave you were for sharing that information in the book. So,
well, if you're looking up to me, we all got problems, man. But I appreciate that. No, but seriously, that is very kind of you to say. And honestly, brother, I felt the same about you reading your book. I got a window into your heart, because people talk about customer service from a very robotic standpoint, but I got a window into the heart of Brian Monahan, like where you're coming from, the impact you want to make on this world, and how working with people is more than just transactional. It has lasting impacts. And that really hit me as somebody who deals with customers all the time. It was an awesome book to read.
I think when you allow yourself to be vulnerable, it puts you on the same playing field as your reader, and they don't feel like there's this hierarchy of, the master who knows everything. It's like you are right there with them, you've suffered with them, and you're willing to share. That takes a lot of courage to share personal things. So I think it's really cool.
So there's the other one, Super J. Tell us a little bit about that one.
So that was actually done.
Yet.
What's that?
I have not read that one yet. I need to add that to my collection.
So that is a book that is a straight up, it is a spirit of an early 90s slapstick comedy.
Mm-hmm.
And the book is a tribute to my father. Now I say a tribute, he's still alive, thankfully, but I wrote it actually as a Father's Day gift to him.
Oh, that's so cool.
And a lot of people, they have dads and they have just this treasure trove of stories they tell you, and you've heard the same stories 1,000 times. And he's got a fantastic lifetime full of stories. So I thought, how fun would it be to take his stories and put them into this superhero type of overarching story, like just call him like Super J, and the adventure, and make his stories into the adventures of Super J, but write it as a just preposterous slapstick comedy.
Oh, I love it. Now I have to read it. I haven't read that one.
It's Geoff, so irreverent. It's bananas. It was so fun.
They're easy to read too. Like they just kind of get you there. So there was like a character that seems really familiar to me in one of your books. I don't know. Did you base it on anybody we know here, or
I thought you were going to
tell us about that book. It was what is that? Return to 2020 or Beyond 20? I can't remember.
Oh God, please no Return to 2020. That's
No, not Return to 2020. Leaving 2020, right?
Yeah, it was called Leaving 2020. That was the first nonfiction true nonfiction I'd ever written. I'm sorry, no, true fiction I'd ever written. See, I don't even know my own books. That was
true fiction. That's
true fiction. And I want to talk vulnerable. All right, this is a story I've never told publicly before.
Ooh.
So, in April of 2020, remember those halcyon golden days? I was within an inch of my own life, and I mean that not just metaphorically, truly within an inch of my own life. I won't get into the details. There were a confluence of events, and the pandemic wasn't it, but it was the thing that pushed it to the it. And it was at the very beginning of April, and I gave myself until the end of the month for things to turn around in some way to show me that there was still some light left in this morass, or I was going to call it a day. That's where it was. And something came through to me at the time that said, you're not done yet. And now it's time to tell this story in a way that will help you heal through the writing process. So I created this alter ego named Sean Gallo. And the book started where he was on the rooftop of his building in New York City. And he was going to jump. And he was in the thick of it. We're talking New York, early April 2020. So it was the timepiece being written as it was unfolding. And this character had lost everything. He had lost his only remaining relative, which was his grandmother. He lost his job. He lost his girlfriend. He lost his favorite watering hole, which was shut down due to COVID. He had nothing left. And he'd been battling depression his entire life. So he gets up to the top of his roof and he says, I'm done. I'm out of here. And he jumped. He actually jumped. But that's where the story really began. And he ends up in this kind of metaphysical journey, this adventure through all these different realms to find his way back to the light. And each of these realms, he meets different people who are showcasing different parts of the human experience, different parts of what it means to laugh, different parts of what it means to love, different parts of what it means to dream and to imagine and to connect with others again and to believe that there's a better possibility waiting. And through these different realms that he encounters, he finds his way not only back to the light, but back to himself. And that's kind of how it comes full circle. Now, the way I was able to put it together was I was fishing around LinkedIn to say, help me write this book, because I didn't even know what direction it was going to go, because I was also looking for the light. So I put out a call. I said, friends, if you want to be a part of this book, then send me what lights you up in life, and I will write you in as a character in this book. And I got submissions from all over the world, from 32 different countries.
Wow. People
were represented in this book. And Mr. Brian over here happened to be one of them. And he showed up on the Serengeti plain of Africa, super randomly, which was awesome.
Yeah, in AI, we can do whatever, right?
We can do whatever. And he was talking about the magic of hopscotch.
I love it.
And hopscotch helped this character come back home to himself. And it was a really profound healing journey for me. And it was something I wrote really all throughout 2020, and I released it at the very end of 2020. So the title was perfect, which was Leaving 2020. And that was something else.
Yeah, when you started doing that, I'm like, is he really going to write everybody into this book? I mean, I didn't believe it. I'm like, what's Geoff up to here? So when it finally came out, it was super cool, and I thought it was brilliant, obviously. So
that is a great idea.
I should have got all of our friends. Well, it might have been, so Kellen and I met because of the pandemic. We were Jeffrey Gitomer fans. Are you familiar with him? He's a sales author, but we were following his live shows, and we started our own little group called the Megamind. And we have a similar experience. We've all, just came to support each other through this time. And so, 3 years later, we're still friends doing this. She released her book during this time as well. It's called Wagmore. And it's about her. Geoff, do you know what a grumble is by chance? You need to know what a grumble is.
And it's like my stomach after a quesadilla, but I don't know much beyond that. So.
Close. It's 3 or more pugs.
Okay.
So I think, you're going to have to fit that into one of your future storylines,
I'm already working on the new one. Grumble is going to make its way in. That's a promise.
I can't wait.
Guarantee you.
Awesome. So, tell me a little bit about, you've moved, all of a sudden I saw, you posted funny stuff to LinkedIn and little stuff, and I saw you kind of like dipping into this, but then there was a day, it was like, do you post every single day something to LinkedIn that's satirical, or do you have tell me more about that?
Yeah, most days, honestly. And, my wife always says, like, where do you come up with this? And I'll bleep out the last part of that sentence. But, and I look her in the eye and I say the honest answer. I have no idea. I have absolutely no idea. It just comes to me. And to me, satire is an art, and the art is more formulaic than it seems. Mm-hmm. So the art is it's the art of juxtaposition. It's taking two things that are seemingly different, and you combine them into one, and then just comedy. It's like a star being born, like just comedy explodes from it. So, when I did today was, so there's in the news, they're talking about how India is looking to possibly change its name to Bharat, which is the word that they use to describe India within India, but they want to change it to Bharat on the global stage. So the satire piece I did today was, like breaking India to change name to Bharat to avoid Discover card payments. So it's stuff like that, it's just you take two disconnected things, you put them together, and boom, the comedy's born, and then it just writes itself.
That's hilarious. So what do you want to be remembered for?
Helping to, we're talking there it is. Yep. I want to be remembered for India changing its name to Bharat to avoid Discover card payments. But if I can't be remembered for that, honestly, I'd love to be remembered for what I'm working on right now and what I'm working to usher in, which is I don't even know how to describe this, but essentially a more optimistic future that we currently don't have. So one thing that Brian probably remembers is that during the pandemic, I had a weekly live show. It's called Good News Fridays. And we were absolutely inundated with doom scrolling and fear and just all the horrific, we're all screwed messaging just over and over and over and over again. And there was a part of me that said, there's two sides to every story, and it can't possibly be as bad as everybody's saying. There have to be green shoots. There have to be rays of light in there somewhere. So I went on a mission to be a heat-seeking missile to go hunt down the pieces of good news that existed during the pandemic regarding the pandemic itself. So I know John Krasinski was doing his good news thing about, oh, look, somebody found a cat somewhere. Like, well, that's great. But people are terrified about COVID. That's not going to do much for them. So I was trying to find the news that said, okay, well, guess case counts are coming down over here. There is a new therapeutic being developed in this country to treat this and that. And there's a way out of this. There's a way out. And I'm feeling that energy now again with the world, not in a COVID sense, but in a broader sense of this intense doom mongering about literally everything. And we're feeling it in the ether. And there's ugly cynicism in the culture right now. And it's heavy and it's awful. And we want something better. And I'm working on creating that.
Wow.
No, I love that, Geoff. It's actually been tough because you've actually forced me to move on different topics. Like I have, let's all kind of wallow together and let's jump on the train together. And then you take a different stance, or like, no, we're not going to take it. And so it's forced me to kind of like step back and say, well, maybe I am jumping into some of that fear mongering myself and to take a different path. And I think that's, when you can do that from an environment like LinkedIn, that's powerful. It really makes a difference. And so
place is a zoo, but I try.
Which I've been wanting, I think it kind of ties in well with a question I've been meaning to ask you the whole time here is, the cancel culture. You as a comedian, can we chat about that? What's going, how's that work out for comedians these days? How do you, when you're getting ready to post that, what goes through your mind? That are you going to get canceled on a day or what?
I'm always one post button away from the end of my career, and I know that. Every day I am walking that thin line. It's like somebody who eats sushi every day of their life. One day it's going to get you. One day you're going to have the wrong piece of eel, and it's only a matter of time. But honestly, I look at it this way. To me, there's two kinds of minds, and a lot of people these days, they try to pin cancel culture on one side of the political divide. But the reality is, if you go back to the 50s, it existed on the other side of the political divide. So nobody has a monopoly on it. This just shifts back and forth throughout history. The divide is never between right and left. It's always between the literal mind and the ironic mind. And the literal mind can't take a joke. The literal mind literally is like, this is how the world is, period, end of story. You joke about that, off with your head, burn at the stake. The ironic mind realizes this whole thing is a big game. It's a big show. It's a big dream. It's a big joke. It's something we can play with and have fun with, like a big ball of Play-Doh. And the minute you start taking anything too seriously, be it yourself, be it an idea, be it a tribe, be it whatever it is, that's when you have to take a moment to step back and identify, why am I taking it so seriously? Do I even believe that? Or has that belief been imprinted upon me by somebody else? And if you really honestly ask that question, you're going to come up with an uncomfortable answer.
What do you think, Kellen? You feeling uncomfortable yet?
Yes. Never. I never feel uncomfortable, do I?
No. Can we make fun of anybody anymore, Geoff? Is that legal? I mean, are we able to, is there a path to make fun of somebody now?
It shrinks
I do
by
in
the
my
day.
head.
Yeah.
It's basically limited to like Elon Musk. I think the entire realm of who's acceptable to make fun of in this entire world has been shrunk to one man. And he even has his defenders. So you make fun of him, they're going to come after you. So honestly, to me, I think you can have fun with anything, but there's a difference between having fun with something and being malicious and mean-spirited.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And I don't believe in that. To me, that's not even funny. Like there's nothing funny about malice. And I think a lot of comedy has been conflated with malice. Nothing I do comes from that place. It's all, and I used to do comedy that did come from that place. And a lot of comedians do. So George Carlin's a great example.
Right.
A lot of people love George Carlin. And I used to love George Carlin, but now I have a chance to see his comedy kind of for what it was. And the energy behind that comedy is a very angry and very bitter energy. It is a screw this, screw them, the hell with this, the hell with that. There's this, it's just lashing out. And when you get into his story, you understand where that comes from and why that is. But there's no love energy behind that kind of comedy. It's just screw everything. And this is my whole bit now.
Is it like a safety net to just make fun of yourself then?
Totally. Oh my God, yeah, absolutely. Now that gets me in trouble with the New Age community because, like, no, but your words manifest your reality. Therefore, you can't. If you talk down to yourself, you are creating a reality. No, I'm just having. It's a joke.
I'm just telling you.
Yeah, we're hosed, Geoff. I mean, what can I say?
I mean, I couldn't see being a comedian in today's climate. I mean, God bless you.
It's almost bad. God.
Okay, so the other problem is, can you go back in time and just say, okay, like that, George Carlin's mostly.
What about Blazing Saddles?
Yeah.
Could that be shown today in a movie theater?
I'm amazed that they're still selling the Blu-ray and that you can even find it on classic films. I mean, I am beyond blown away that even exists anymore.
History of the world.
I'm going to tell you my mother of the year story. When my daughter was 5, I thought, horses, she's going to love it. First 2 seconds of the movie, go out and play. You can't watch this. I'd forgotten. I forgot how bad it was.
The example I love to use is the one of All in the Family. Now,
Yes.
that's a show that would never air today.
No.
And to me, that's hilarious. Because the character of Archie Bunker was not promoting racism, it was destroying racism.
Right.
That it was, and if you understood the humor behind Norman Lear and also Carol O'Connor, the way he was portraying the character, it was meant to lampoon bigots,
right?
Not to promote them. But the literal mind can't see through to that. The literal mind just hears a bad word and they say, well, you have to cancel it. While not understanding the context behind, he's showing how ridiculous it is to think that way. And that, I think that's part of the problem too. It's that there's just such a literalism out there. And we have this hypersensitivity, but if you look past it, you realize there's a lot of brilliant comedy being done that is meant to move us forward, to advance our consciousness. We just have to give it the space to do it.
Well, I mean, I think that is the brilliance of Archie Bunker, is that people don't know that is, they've taken it as people are enjoying that humor when it's really highlighting it as something not to do. And so, and
every time.
And 40 years later, that certain people still haven't figured that out yet. It's just beyond me.
When he's openly said it, it's not a secret anymore.
Yeah.
Everybody said it. This was the goal behind the character. This was the thing.
Yeah, even when it came out, that was the story, and people still have not picked that up after all these years. Now, have you seen the meme where they say they were like 50 years old at the time of that, and I'm actually older than they were in that show, and I'm like, they seem so ancient in that show.
Oh, they seem like they're in their 80s or even their 70s or 80s,
and Edith,
and they were like 50 or something.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Remember that episode? She turned 50. Like, is that what 50 looked like in the early 70s? Because I don't know how civilization reached that far.
Well, they did. I mean, when you were 60 and in the 70s, you were old.
You're old.
And now it's 8 years away for me. So
60's the new 30.
60's the new 30.
Thank you.
So
I just think that the internet and all the social media has made us dumber and not allowing us. We're not allowed to have opinions anymore. We're so bombarded with all these opinions, and it's like, and we're all afraid to speak. It seems a lot of us are afraid to speak, and that's sad. It's really sad.
Yeah, we've all lived in these eras before. I think it's interesting that we're living through our own now, and I think what makes this one the most interesting every era has had censors and a prevailing zeitgeist that says you're allowed to think this and you're not allowed to think that.
Mm-hmm.
I think it takes us by storm now because we have so much access to information at our fingertips. We have an interconnected world. We're supposed to be living in this renaissance of thought. And yet we're just right back in another dark age of you're
Right.
allowed to think this, but you're not allowed to think that.
Right.
So we're like, wait, what? Wait, seriously?
It's actually dumbing us up.
Oh, absolutely. It totally is. So I'm trying to move something forward here, and I'm gonna need a lot of help from both of you and everybody else watching here. I think we are on the cusp of an actual neo-Renaissance, which excites me because every time throughout history where there's a confluence of two things, you have the zeitgeist that says keep your mouth shut and keep your head down, and you have a plague. When those two come together, it's always followed by a Renaissance, which is fun.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like we're on the cusp of this new thought Renaissance, this new Renaissance of love, of connectivity, of advancement, and we're all going to be a part of it in our own way, and it's awesome. Happy to be alive here.
Now, is this beyond Perfectia, or is this actually Perfectia that we're talking about right now?
To Perfectia.
So, I told you that I had all kinds of bells and whistles today. Obviously, my graphics didn't work. We talked about the AI.
I thought you were talking about me.
No. And we were talking about the AI growing your hair back. It appears that was broken too. So I'm sorry, Geoff. I'm sorry the AI model just did not work today. But
can't win them all.
What a brilliant show.
I know. Any parting words or Kellen?
We
don't have our final question. What's our final question?
What's your favorite thing?
My favorite thing?
Yeah, because my old show we used to ask what was your favorite moisturizer. But
you're more than welcome to answer.
Dove is definitely my favorite moisturizer, and I think my favorite thing is going to be the upcoming Buffalo Bills Super Bowl parade in February.
Okay.
Interesting.
I'm just calling that in from the future. It's my new favorite thing.
In your positivity.
I'm going to call Joe Burrow and see what's going on. But
you called that in last January. It's we're not doing that again.
Yeah, I mean they've used up their calls. So I mean,
yeah. Who day sitting on the couch watching the Bills hoist the trophies.
All right. Well, hopefully we'll meet up in the the championship. So that would be good.
I would love that. It would be great to have the Chiefs not in it for once. And yeah,
absolutely.
So where can people find you?
So right here on LinkedIn. So linkedin.com/Geoff Woliner. So that's the best way to
I wrote that in wrong. I need to fix that, everybody. You guys know.
Oh, actually, no, you're right. It's linkedin.com. I'll talk it out. It's linkedin.com/in/Geoff Woliner, or just Google me. My LinkedIn will come up, and if you want to pick up any of my books, that'd be cool. Wouldn't hate that. But if
did anybody read my private
there we go. There we go. I fixed it.
There it is. More than anything else.
Read my private message.
What's that, Kellen?
Read my private message.
Okay.
One of somebody, both of you.
Oh, read the private message.
Oh, we have an inside baseball thing happening here?
You go to the chat button, then you go to private.
Yeah, ooh.
Because we did this with Jennifer, so I wasn't sure.
Ooh. The answer is yes. I would like to give away a book.
Okay. Which one do you want to give away?
I mean, we put you on the spot here.
That's why I said read the chat. Nobody else knew what that said.
No, let's give a copy of the
My left foot itches. Help.
That's a book title right there. You are a genius, my friend.
I have a ton of them.
Love it.
So go out to LinkedIn and cancel Geoff on one of his posts, and then you'll be entered to get a book. Okay. And then also, go out to the right spotlight.com/sign up. Subscribe. Go out to YouTube. Hey, we're getting better each week at this. This week we had a little intro. We're gonna have an outro on the way out here. We had graphics that didn't work this time. They worked last week. But hey, we're moving along. The great news is the authors we're bringing on here are perfect.
We've got some great. And next week we have Cynthia Mannion.
Yep, Cynthia Mannion, and her book is called I forgot it already. It's something hard ass this or that. I think
that's
we're gonna have to come back. We're gonna have to have you join us next week, Geoff, to talk to her. So
do it.
We're not that.
But come back next week. See what Cynthia has to say. But we're gonna wrap up here. We're gonna send you Black Pearl. Yeah, she's tough.
And I'm going to shamelessly promote, Brian, go to Amazon for this.
Go to Amazon
book.
for all of them.
Great book.
Go get
Great book.
Perfectia.
And Wagmore's out there too. All of us are just real humans here who wrote books. So, our goal here is to get you to join the club as well. So we welcome you to join us in authordom and be on the show someday. So
yes.
Love it.
So thank you everybody for being here. It was exciting. Thank you, Geoff. It was so cool to meet you.
Thank you.
Wonderful
both.
to meet you.
You two are the best.
And we'll
All
see
right,
you guys
well,
next week at our normal time at 10:10 a.m.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great week.
Bye.